great hall of the alien council was filled with whispers. The ceiling rose so high that shadows covered the corners. Strange banners of alien houses hung heavy in the air. Warriors with claws and fangs stood proud beside their rulers, and at the center, the throne of the alien queen glowed under cold light. Guards dragged a young human boy into the chamber, his small steps echoing against the shining floor. The crowd of predators leaned forward, their eyes glowing with hunger and amusement. They were curious, but they were also cruel. The boy wore a medal across his chest, a small piece of metal against his simple clothes. It looked ordinary to most, yet it shined in a way that caught the eyes of everyone present. Whispers grew louder, some laughed, others hissed. "Why does this fragile creature wear such a thing?" one predator growled, his voice like thunder. The alien queen raised her hand, and the room fell silent. Her golden eyes stared at the human with sharp curiosity. She leaned forward, her voice soft but heavy with power. "You, little human," she said, "why do you wear this medal in front of me? What is its meaning? Why do you carry such pride when your kind is weak?" The boy's breath was steady. He looked up at the queen without fear. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes did not lower. The medal caught the light, reflecting on his determined face. He did not answer at once. He stood there in silence, letting the weight of the moment press against him. The council members shifted uncomfortably, unused to being ignored by prey. One tall predator stepped forward, his fangs bared. "Speak, human, or we will tear the medal from your chest." Still the boy did not move, his silence louder than their threats. The queen's voice cut through the tension, calm but sharp as a blade. "I command you to answer. What is the story behind this medal? Why do you wear it before me?" The boy finally spoke, his voice quiet but clear. It carried across the great hall. "This medal," he said, "is not for pride, it is not for glory, it is for sacrifice." Laughter erupted through the chamber, harsh and cruel. Predators struck their weapons against the floor. Some bent over with amusement, others spat insults. "Sacrifice, how weak," one hissed. "True honor is taken with blood, not given with pity." The queen raised her hand again, silencing the crowd, but her lips curved in a faint smirk. "Sacrifice, you say? Explain. Prove to me that this small circle of metal is worth even a claw of my warriors." The boy lifted his head higher, his eyes steady. "This medal carries the weight of a battle your kind pretends to forget. It carries the blood of those who fought when no one stood with us." A ripple passed through the crowd. Some predators stopped their laughter, their eyes narrowing. The boy's words stirred something, a memory they wished to bury. The queen's smirk faded slightly. Her interest sharpened. She leaned closer on her throne. "You claim this medal carries the weight of war, yet you are only a boy. What could you know of battles?" The boy touched the medal lightly, his fingers trembling for just a moment. "I was there," he whispered, then louder. "I lived it. This medal was given not for victory, but for what was lost." The room grew tense, silence pressing down heavier than before. Even the guards shifted uneasily. The queen's golden eyes glowed, her voice now low and serious. "Tell me then, human, tell me the story of this medal. But remember, every word you speak will be judged. If your story is hollow, if your medal is empty, you will not leave this chamber alive." The boy's chest rose and fell slowly, but his gaze did not break. He nodded once, his voice calm. "Then listen, and you will understand why even predators bow before this medal." The chamber was still. No claws scraped, no weapons clashed. Every alien waited, drawn by a strange pull they did not understand. The boy's silence had already shaken them, but now his words promised to carry something heavier than fear. The queen leaned back in her throne, her sharp crown glinting under the cold light. She studied him not as prey, but as something unknown, something dangerous. The boy's fingers closed around the medal, his eyes on the council. "This story begins with fire and ends with silence, Rigitum," he said, "and I will tell it to you, no matter if it costs my life." The last words hung in the air like a blade. The predators shifted, their instincts warning them that this fragile human boy was about to speak words that would carve deep into their pride. The queen gave a single nod, her voice calm, almost respectful. "Then speak, child of Earth. Let us hear the weight of your medal." And so the hall, filled with predators who had laughed only moments ago, fell into silence, waiting for the story that would make even their hearts tremble. The boy stood in the middle of the alien throne room, his metal shining faintly under the council's cold light. The silence pressed down like a heavy storm. Predators stared, waiting. The alien queen leaned forward, her golden eyes glowing with sharp interest. At last, the boy spoke again, his words clear and steady. This medal was not given to me because of strength of arms. It was given because of strength of heart. The chamber shook with laughter, cruel and echoing. Fangs flashed, claws scraped the floor, predators mocked. Heart, what is a heart to a blade? One alien growled. What is a heart to a warship? Another hissed. The queen did not laugh. Her lips stayed still, her eyes never leaving the boy. She raised one hand and silence returned, though tension still burned in the air. Explain, she said soft, her voice dangerous. What strength lies in this heart you speak of? The boy closed his eyes for a moment, his fingers brushing the metal. Then he looked straight into the queen's eyes. The strength to stand when all others fall. The strength to fight even when death is certain. The strength to give your life so others may live. His voice grew louder, carried by something deeper than fear. This medal was my father's. He died giving it to me, and his blood still stains its edges. A low growl spread through the chamber. Predators shifted, some lowering their eyes, for even they respected blood sacrifice. The queen tilted her head, her curiosity growing sharper. Your father gave you this medal with his dying breath, she said. Tell me why. Tell me what his death meant. The boy stepped forward. Guards tensed but did not stop him. The queen's hand kept them still. He gave it to me, the boy said, because he wanted me to remember that humanity does not bow to fear, that even when surrounded, even when abandoned, we fight until the end. He lifted the medal higher. The light caught it, shining across the alien faces. This is not a trophy. It is not a prize. It is a story carved in blood. The predators did not laugh now. Their silence was thick. Their instincts warned them that the boy's words carried weight. The boy's voice softened, but it reached every corner of the chamber. When my father died, he did not die alone. Hundreds fell beside him, each one knowing they would never see their home again. But still they fought, still they held the line, and still they passed this medal to me so I would carry their memory. The queen leaned back slowly, her golden eyes unreadable. You speak as if their deaths hold power, as if sacrifice itself can bend the will of predators. The boy nodded. It does, because true strength is not in killing, true strength is in refusing to break even when death surrounds you. The words cut deep into the hall. Some predators looked away, unwilling to meet the human's gaze. Others clenched their claws, confused by the unease that stirred inside them. The queen rose slightly from her throne, her presence towering. You claim that your medal carries the weight of sacrifice, then prove it, she demanded, her voice like thunder. Show me how a child's story can stand against the pride of predators. The boy stepped closer, his small form dwarfed by the massive guards, yet his voice carried stronger than theirs. I do not need to prove it, he said. You already feel it, every one of you. That is why you laugh less now. That is why your eyes shift. Because deep inside you know this medal holds something your thrones and crowns cannot give you. The hall trembled with murmurs. Predators looked at each other, some uncertain, some uneasy. The queen's eyes narrowed, yet there was no anger, only deepening curiosity. She felt it too, a strange pressure she could not name. The boy held the medal close to his chest, his voice calm but heavy. This silence you hear now is the proof. You mock me, yet you do not strike me. You threaten me, yet you do not kill me. Why? Because this medal already forced you to listen. It already made you pause. A shiver moved across the chamber. Warriors who once sneered now lowered their weapons slightly. Predators who once growled now stood quiet. The queen sat back down slowly, her gaze locked on the boy. You speak boldly, human. Bolder than any I have seen in this hall. Your silence cuts deeper than swords. Your words weigh heavier than crowns. The boy lifted his chin. And I have not even begun the story of this medal, he said, his voice steady. If you wish to know why even predators bow, then I will tell you the battle behind it. The queen's lips curved in the faintest smile, sharp and dangerous, but tinged with respect. Then speak, child of earth. Show us the fire that forged your metal. Show us why your father's blood still burns. The boy closed his fingers around the metal, and in that moment, the great hall felt smaller. The predators, the council, even the queen herself leaned forward, all drawn into the weight of his silence. For the boy had not only defended his metal, he had turned their laughter into unease, their arrogance into curiosity, and their pride into something close to fear. The queen gave one final command, her voice low, carrying across the silent chamber. Tell us of the battle, human. Tell us why we should bow. And with that, the boy prepared to begin the tale that would shake the galaxy. The boy's hand tightened around the metal, his small fingers pressing against its cold surface. The alien throne room was silent, every predator's gaze fixed on him. The alien queen leaned forward, her golden eyes glowing with sharp light. You wish to know the story, the boy said, his voice steady. Then listen, for this metal carries the memory of a battle that should have been impossible. The predators shifted uneasily, their instincts telling them that something heavy was about to be spoken. It began on the edge of space, the boy continued. A colony of humans stood alone, far from Earth, far from allies. And when the predators came, they came with fire and steel. They came with fleets that darkened the stars. The council chamber seemed to grow colder. The aliens who remembered those days glanced at each other but did not speak. My father was there, the boy said. He was not a great general, not a famous hero, just a soldier. But when the predators landed, he stood with the others, rifles in hand, knowing they could not win but refusing to run. His voice grew stronger, echoing across the hall. The first day, the sky burned, ships fell, Ike stars. The ground shook with every strike, and still the humans fought, side by side, line by line, their numbers small, their weapons weak, but their will unbroken. The predators in the chamber frowned, some lowering their eyes because they remembered they had heard whispers of this fight, a fight that should have lasted minutes, yet stretched into days. The second day, the boy said, his tone heavy, the predators broke through the outer walls. They came with claws and fire. They expected fear, but they found fury. They found humans who fought even as buildings fell around them, men and women who carried wounded on their backs while firing at the enemy, who chose death rather than surrender. He lifted the metal glinting in the dim light. This metal was forged from that fire. It was given to those who stood in the ashes and refused to kneel. The hall grew tense, the air heavy with silence. The boy's eyes darkened, his voice trembling with memory. The third day was the last. The predators brought their strongest, war beasts with armor thicker than walls, machines that shook the ground, and still my father and his comrades stood, knowing they had no chance, knowing it was the end, yet fighting anyway. A predator lord shifted, his claws scraping the floor, his gaze narrowed, for he remembered sending warriors into that very battle, and he remembered how many never returned. My father carried me to the last stronghold, the boy said softly. He placed this medal on my chest. He said, never forget, courage is stronger than fear. And then he went back to the fight, alone, against the storm. The boy's voice grew sharp like a blade. I watched him fall. I saw the predators surround him. I saw him fight until he could not stand. And still, when he fell, the predators hesitated because they felt it. They felt his will, even as his blood stained the ground. The alien queen's golden eyes flickered, her fingers tightening on the armrest of her throne. She could almost see the image in her mind, the human soldier, here standing alone against the tide, refusing to bow. The predators took the colony, the boy said. They burned the ground, they claimed victory, but they could not erase what they saw. They could not erase the truth that humans fight differently, not for conquest, not for power, but for each other. His hand clenched tighter around the metal. This metal is not just mine. It is not even just my father's. It belongs to every soul who fell that day, to every human who chose death over surrender, and that is why it carries weight even here, in your hall, before your queen. The predators in the chamber stirred. Some looked away, their pride stung by the truth. Others clenched their jaws, remembering warriors who had never returned from that battle. The queen rose slightly from her throne, her tall figure casting shadows across the hall. Her voice was low, dangerous, but touched with something new. Respect. And you, boy, survived this slaughter, carrying their memory in silence until now. The boy nodded once, his face calm, though his eyes burned. Yes, I survived, and I carry their voices with me, and when I speak, they speak too, through me, through this metal. The hall trembled with silence, no laughter, no mocking, only the heavy weight of truth pressing against every predator heart. The queen's golden eyes locked on the boy. You tell a story that predators themselves whisper in shame, a battle that should not have lasted yet did, a stand that no prey should have made, yet humans did, and still you stand here to remind us of it. The boy lifted the metal high, the light flashing across its surface. This is why you bow, not to me, not to this piece of metal, but to the will that no predator could break. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The alien queen herself stood frozen, her heart caught between pride and disbelief. The story of the boy's fate. There, the story of the colony, the story of humans who fought when defeat was certain. This story echoed louder than any roar, sharper than any claw, heavier than any throne. And as the boy lowered the metal, the predators who once laughed now felt something they could not name, something close to fear, something close to respect. The queen's voice broke the silence at last, calm and heavy. Continue, child of Earth. Tell us how your people fought beyond that day, for if what you say is true, then even predators must listen. And the boy, standing small yet unshaken in the great hall, nodded, ready to speak the next chapter of the story that would shake the galaxy. The boy's voice carried through the silent chamber, every predator listening, though they would never admit it. The alien queen leaned forward, her golden eyes unblinking, her hands gripping the arms of her throne. My father was not the only one who fell, the boy said, his voice low but sharp. Every soldier, every mother, every brother, every sister who stood on that colony fought until the end, and when their bodies dropped, they were not forgotten because this metal carries them all. He held the metal higher, its dull shine glowing under the chamber's cold light. This is not a decoration, this is a graveyard pressed into metal. Every line, every scratch, every stain carved into it is the truth of their sacrifice. The predators shifted uneasily, their claws twitching, their instincts recoiling, for deep inside they understood, they respected strength, but what the boy spoke of was something different, something heavier. The boy's voice grew sharper. Do you know what true fear looks like? He asked. It is not the roar of beasts. It is not the clash of armies. It is silence, the silence that falls when warriors realize the enemy they thought weak will not bow, even in death. The hall trembled with that silence now, his words pressing into every alien heart. My father fought until his last breath, the boy said, his eyes burning. But he was not alone. I saw Ahmed. He threw himself over a child, shielding her with his body while he bled out. I saw a farmer pick up a broken rifle and stand in front of soldiers, buying them seconds with his life. I saw my people stand shoulder to shoulder when every wall crumbled, and still they did not yield. The queen's lips parted slightly, a flicker of something. Was it respect? Crossed her face, her warriors beside her lowered their heads, as if even they felt the weight of those words. This metal, the boy whispered, then louder, is carved with their blood. It is the proof that humanity does not break, even when crushed, even when burned, even when erased. We remain. The predators could not laugh now. Their arrogance had melted into unease, their pride shaking under the boy's story. The boy took a slow breath. Do you know what happened on the last night? He asked, his voice trembling with memory. My father and his comrades were the last line, only a few left, their bodies broken, their weapons almost gone, but they stood at the gates of the colony, waiting for the final storm. He paused, his silence heavier than words. The predators leaned forward despite themselves. They fought until there were no more bullets. Then they fought with their hands, with stones, with fire, anything they could grab. They fought until they could not move, and still they roared at the predators. Still they screamed that Earth would never bow. A predator lord growled low, not at the boy, but at the memory, his claws scraping against the floor, for he remembered those reports. He remembered how many of his kind had fallen that night. The boy's voice rose, shaking the chamber. The predators won the ground, but they lost something greater. They lost the lie that humans are prey, because that night proved we are not prey, we are fire, and fire does not bow. The chamber thundered with silence, not a souse. Ingle voice dared to break it. The boy's small form seemed to tower, his words larger than his body. The queen rose from her throne, her tall figure casting shadows, her golden eyes locked on the boy, her voice low but edged with respect. You say this metal is carved with blood, that it carries the truth of sacrifice, but why show it here? Why bring it before me? The boy lifted the metal slowly, holding it out as if offering it to the entire chamber. Because you laugh at us, because you call us weak, because you think crowns and thrones make you strong, but this metal is stronger than your throne, because no throne is built on sacrifice like this. Gasps filled the chamber, predators stiffened. Never before had prey spoken such words to a queen, never before had prey compared blood to crowns. The queen's jaw tightened, but her eyes glowed brighter, not with rage but with the strange fire of recognition. The boy's voice dropped into a whisper, forcing everyone to lean in. This is the truth carved in blood, and you can mock it, you can deny it, but you cannot erase it, because even now, even here, in this hall, you feel it pressing on your hearts. The predators lowered their heads without meaning to, their instincts bowing before something they did not fully understand. The alien queen stood frozen, her chest rising and falling slowly, her voice softer than ever before. You speak like one who carries an army within him. The boy nodded once. I do. Every name carved in this metal stands with me, and that is why even predators bow. The hall was silent, the boy's words echoing like thunder in the bones of every listener, and for the first time the predators who ruled the galaxy realized they had underestimated humanity. The alien queen slowly sat back down, her eyes never leaving the boy, her voice trembling with something close to awe. Then continue, human. Tell me what came after the blood. Tell me what fire still burns in your people. And the boy, his hand still gripping the metal, prepared to reveal the next chapter of his story, the one that would shake even the throne itself. The boy stood tall, though his body was small, the metal shining faintly on his chest. His voice had carved silence into the hall, and now the predators who once laughed could not find the courage to speak. The alien queen leaned forward, her golden eyes sharp as blades, her lips pressed into a thin line. She had faced warlords. She had crushed rebellions. She had broken armies with her hand. Yet this child, this human, carried something she could not command. You say this metal holds the strength of sacrifice, she said, her voice calm but heavy. But strength is nothing if it does not endure. Tell me then, what fire remained when the blood was spilled? The boy's hand gripped the metal, his eyes never leaving hers. The fire that remained was not in the battlefield, he said. It was in the survivors, in the children who watched their parents fall, in the soldiers who passed the last breath to protect others. It was in me. His words pressed into the chamber like a storm. Predators believe strength is in dominance, but humanity's strength is in defiance. You can crush our bodies, but you cannot crush our will, and that is why you fear us. A low growl rippled through the chamber. Some predators bristled, their pride stung, yet none moved against him. Their instincts warned them that his words were not weakness, they were truth. The boy stepped forward, his small form framed by the massive guards beside him. Yet it was he who seemed to tower. This metal is not a symbol of me. It is a voice for the dead, and through me, they speak to you now. The predators stiffened, their eyes flickering because deep within their savage hearts they felt it, the strange weight of unseen warriors standing behind the boy. I watched men fight with no hope, the boy said, his voice strong. I saw them stand when standing meant death. I saw them bleed when bleeding meant nothing. And I saw them die smiling because they knew their sacrifice would outlive them. And now it lives here. He touched the metal. It lives in me. The chamber grew colder. The laughter that once echoed here was gone, replaced by a silence heavier than chains. The alien queen tilted her head, her voice low. And why do you think this moves predators? Why do you believe killers, hunters, rulers of the stars would bow to such a story? The boy's eyes burned with quiet fire. Because even predators know courage when they see it. Even predators honor strength, and sacrifice is the purest strength of all. A murmur rose among the predators. Some lowered their heads slightly, unwilling but unable to resist. Others clenched their jaws, torn between pride and respect. The queen's hand tightened on the throne, her gaze sharp but her heart unsettled because she knew he was right. She had seen her own warriors hesitate when facing humans, not because of weapons, not because of power, but because of the human refusal to break. The boy lifted the medal high, his voice rising. You thought this was just metal, you thought it was pride. But it is more than that. It is a reminder that when humanity bleeds, it does not kneel, it stands taller, and that is why you bow. The predators did not move, but slowly, one by one, their eyes lowered, not from shame, but from a deep, instinctive recognition, the kind of respect that could not be forced. The queen rose from her throne, her crown catching the cold light, her tall frame casting shadows. Her voice was calm, but carried a strange tremor. You are a child, yet you carry an army in your words. You are fragile, yet you hold something even predators cannot break. The boy's voice dropped, softer but sharper. That is because I am not alone when I speak. The dead stand with me. When I lift this medal, they rise again, and their strength presses against you, even now. The hall shook with silence. The predators shifted, their claws scraping the floor, but none dared to laugh, none dared to mock. The alien queen's golden eyes flickered with something dangerous and rare. Respect mixed with unease. She had demanded explanation, and she had received more than she bargained for. The boy's hand trembled slightly, but his voice did not. This is the power of sacrifice. This is the weight of memory. This is why humans are not prey. This is why even predators listen. The chamber seemed smaller now, the boy's words filling it. The predators, once towering, now looked less certain, less sure of their dominance. The queen slowly lowered herself back onto the throne, her eyes locked on the boy, her voice almost a whisper. Then show me, child of earth. Show me the full power of this medal. Show me what story remains that can shake even my throne. The boy nodded once, his chest rising slowly, the medal glowing faintly under the light. He was ready to speak the final truths, truths carved deeper than blood, truths heavy enough to make predators kneel, and the predators who once came to mock now leaned forward, unable to resist, for the boy's silence had turned into chains around their pride, and his words had become fire in their bones. The queen's voice echoed through the hall, soft but commanding. Continue, human. The council will listen. And so the boy prepared to tell the chapter that would pierce the heart of every predator, and perhaps even break the pride of a queen. The chamber was silent, heavy with the weight of the boy's words. The predators who once roared with laughter now stood frozen, their pride chained by something they could not see. The alien queen's golden eyes burned as she studied the child, her voice sharp but touched with unease. You claim this medal holds power greater than thrones, she said. Then show me, human. Show me the proof that even predators cannot deny. The boy lifted the medal slowly, its dull shine catching the cold light. His small hand trembled, but his voice did not. This medal does not shine because of metal. It shines because of the lives it carries. Every soul who fell in that battle stands here with me, and their strength is heavier than crowns, heavier than empires, heavier than fear itself. A low rumble passed through the hall. Predators shifted uneasily, their claws tapping against the floor. Their instincts warned them that the boy's words carried more weight than weapons. The boy stepped forward, his voice rising. Predators believe power comes from dominance, from killing, from ruling, but this medal proves something else. It proves power comes from sacrifice, from the courage to give everything so others can live. He looked directly at the queen, his eyes steady. Tell me, your majesty, what do your crowns honor? Do they honor fear? Do they honor conquest? Or do they honor sacrifice? The question struck like a blade. The chamber stirred. Predators glanced at one another, their pride wounded, their silence heavy. The queen's lips parted slightly, but no words came. The boy pressed on, his voice cutting deeper. You bow to crowns, to thrones, to weapons, but this metal commands you without force, without armies, because it carries something your kind cannot conquer. Memory, courage, sacrifice. That is why you feel it pressing on you now. That is why even predators lower their eyes. His words hit like thunder. Several predators shifted back unconsciously, their shoulders tense, their eyes lowered, their instincts bending even when their pride resisted. The boy raised the metal higher, his voice shaking the chamber. This is the power of sacrifice. It ends even predators. It silences even thrones. It is heavier than fear and stronger than death. The hall trembled with silence. No weapon moved, no laughter broke. The predators felt the weight pressing on their hearts. The alien queen rose slowly from her throne, her tall figure glowing under the dim light, her voice low and dangerous. You speak boldly, child of Earth, but words are wind. What makes this metal more than a story? The boy's eyes did not leave hers, his voice calm. Because you feel it already. Your warriors feel it. Your lords feel it. The silence in this chamber is the proof. You cannot mock it. You cannot break it. Because sacrifice is stronger than pride. The queen's eyes narrowed, but her breath was heavier. She felt it too. The strange weight pressing on her chest, not from fear of the boy, but from the ghosts he carried with him. The boy lowered the metal slightly, his voice softer, forcing every predator to lean closer. This metal is not mine alone. It is theirs, and when I lift it, they rise again, and they stand here with me, in your hall, before your throne. A shiver moved through the chamber. Predators glanced at the shadows, as if expecting to see human warriors standing there, silent and unbroken. The queen clenched her fists, her golden eyes blazing, but she did not strike. She could not. Something unseen held her back. The boy stepped closer, his voice cutting through the silence. This is why your warriors bowed without meaning to. This is why your laughter died in your throats. Because this metal carries the truth you fear most, that humanity cannot be broken. The predators lowered their heads again, some fighting it, some surrendering to it, but none could deny it. The boy's voice rang like iron. This is the metal's power. It is not forged from metal. It is forged from blood, and it will outlast your empires, your thieves, rones, your crowns, because sacrifice is eternal. The hall thundered with silence. The queen stood frozen, her pride shaken, her heart trembling, for the boy's words had turned into chains around her throne, and even she could feel her power bending before something she could not name. The boy held the metal close to his chest, his eyes calm. Now you understand, your majesty. Now you feel it. The weight of sacrifice heavier than all your crowns, the truth that makes even predators bow. The alien queen's breath was slow, her golden eyes glowed with something rare, respect mixed with unease, her voice softer than before. You are no ordinary child, human. You carry more than yourself. You carry the will of the dead, and with it you have bent my hall to silence. The boy nodded once, his voice calm but final. This is the metal's power, and it is only the beginning. The predators shifted restlessly, their instincts torn, their pride broken, yet none dared to speak, for the hall itself felt chained by the story, and every predator heart carried the weight of it. The queen lowered herself slowly back onto her throne, her voice trembling but commanding. Then finish it, child of Earth. Tell us the end of your story. Show us what remains when even predators bow. And the boy, his small hand clutching the metal, prepared to speak the last truth, the one that would decide not just respect, but history itself. The throne room was heavy with silence. The predators who once laughed now stood frozen, their claws still, their eyes lowered. The weight of the metal hung in the air like a storm, pressing against every chest, breaking every pride. The boy stood in the center, small but unshaken, his hand on the metal, his voice still echoing in the bones of those who had listened. He had spoken of blood, of sacrifice, of courage beyond fear, and now the chamber itself felt chained by his words. The alien queen rose slowly from her throne, her tall figure casting shadows across the hall. Her golden eyes burned like suns, yet her breath came heavy, her crown glittered, but for the first time it felt fragile on her head. "You have spoken, child of Earth," she said, her voice low but unsteady. "You have carried the weight of the dead into my hall, and with their memory you have silenced predators." She stepped down from her throne. Every predator gasped, for their queen had never left her seat for prey. Her steps echoed slow and sharp until she stood before the boy, towering over him like a mountain of gold and steel. The boy did not flinch. His eyes met hers, his hand lifted the metal between them, the faint light catching its surface, the silence heavier than iron. The queen's voice dropped into a whisper, yet it carried across the hall. "Tell me, human, what do you want? You have shown us the weight of sacrifice. You have broken our laughter. But what is it you seek?" The boy's voice was calm, steady as stone. "I do not seek crowns. I do not seek thrones. I seek truth. The truth that humans are not weak, not prey, not shadows in your empire. We are fire, and fire does not bow." The words struck like thunder. The predators shifted, their heads lowering further, their pride bending under something older than fear. The queen's golden eyes narrowed, but her lips trembled. She could not deny it. She felt it in her bones. The fire of 1,000 warriors standing behind the boy, invisible, but undeniable. The boy stepped closer, his small frame drowned in her shadow, but his voice carried higher than her crown. "You wanted me to explain this metal. Now you know. It is not just metal. It is sacrifice. It is memory. It is the truth that even predators bow before." The chamber shook with silence, and then it happened. One predator warrior fell to one knee, lowering his head to the ground. Another followed, then another, until the sound of armor striking the floor filled the hall. Predators, the fiercest hunters of the galaxy, bent their heads, not by force, not by command, but by instinct, by respect, by the unseen weight pressing on their hearts. The queen's body stiffened, her pride clashing with the sight before her. Her warriors, her lords, her predators bowing to a child, to a metal, to the story of sacrifice. Her breath was sharp, her golden eyes burned, and then slowly, with a sound like thunder, she lowered herself to one knee, her crown tilting forward, her head bowing before the boy. The hall froze, not in silence but in awe. Never before had the alien queen bowed. Never before had the throne bent to pray. Yet here she was, her golden head lowered before a human child. The boy's hand trembled around the metal, but his voice remained steady. "This is the power of sacrifice, not to conquer, not to enslave, but to command respect. Respect earned in blood, respect no throne can erase." The queen's voice was low, her pride breaking, but her words heavy. "You have shown me what no king, no warlord, no empire ever has. You have shown me strength that does not fade, courage that does not die, and sacrifice that even predators bow to." She lifted her head, her golden eyes glowing with fire, but it was no longer arrogance, it was respect. "From this day, the story of your metal will not be hidden. It will be carried across the stars. Every council, every empire, every predator will hear it. They will know the truth carved in blood." The boy lowered the metal slowly, his chest rising with calm breath. "That is all I wanted," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "Not fear, not crowns, only truth." The predators remained bowed, their silence now reverence, their pride shattered and rebuilt into respect. The queen stepped back, her voice firm. "Then leave this hall as more than a boy. Leave as the voice of sacrifice, the voice of humanity, the voice that made predators bow." The boy turned, his steps calm, the metal glowing faintly as if alive. The chamber of predators watched him go, none daring to laugh, none daring to speak, for they had seen something greater than power, and so the tale ended. A human child standing in the hall of predators, a single metal forcing even the fiercest hunters of the galaxy to kneel, the truth carved in blood burning brighter than crowns. The galaxy would never forget that day, the day when predators bowed, the day when the alien queen herself bent her pride to the weight of a human metal.